Hi, part of the reason I started this channel and called it Vegangelical was inspired by my daily posts of Christian biblical texts and passages with an angle on them to lean towards veganism. So I did that for around 2 years, different passage every day, and stopped doing it recently in order to work on a book along those lines. So that's why I stopped. It's not because I've lost faith or I don't think that there's a strong connection between veganism and faith, because neither of those things are true. I still have faith. I call myself a Christian vegan. Although I don't consider myself religious. I don't think faith and religion are necessarily the same thing. So I thought I'd give a very short bit of advice really to activists who are faced with people who call themselves Christians, who challenge them during outreach. I've witnessed this fairly frequently at AVs that I've been a part of. I know Guildford tend to do AVs on Sundays. I've been along to a couple of those, and I've met pastors and I've met people who are involved with churches and people who call themselves Christians, challenging people, quite often angrily, which is an interesting approach for someone who calls themselves a Christian. So I thought it might be useful just to give you a few pointers as to why I think it's really crazy for people to think that the two things, veganism and Christianity, are not able to go hand in hand. So I try and tell people to go away with just a small handful of points. If they want to get into more detail, they can message me, and I can talk about different passages and challenge some of the assertions that people make about why Christians shouldn't be vegan, or justifications, attempted justifications they may give through Bible passages. And I have answers to every single one of them. I've yet to find one I don't. And that's not because I'm super intelligent or anything like that. It's because the Bible comes from a place of love, and those passages that don't, I can go into more detail separately. Those passages that don't come from a place of love don't come from God. So the key points I like to tell people to go away with are probably threefold. So the first one is Genesis 1:29, which is easy for me to remember because I have it tattooed on my back, and it's basically God's second instruction in the Bible before the Ten Commandments, and it's instructing us as humans to follow a vegan diet. Have a read of it. That's the instruction he gives us. So a lot of people might say, yes, but he then gave us dominion over the animals. So firstly, dominion does not mean domination. It does not mean exploitation. It means stewardship. So care for. And even if it did mean to be able to use or utilize animals for our benefit, what they're forgetting when they use that as a justification is that passage is immediately before God's instruction to follow a vegan diet. So if you read Genesis 1:20 onwards, so it's not until the very end of 1:20, 1:29, where he gives us a vegan diet. That is after he's granted us dominion over the animals and the earth. So for people to say, okay, well, he gave us a vegan diet, but then he gave us dominion, they've got it back to front. So why would he give us dominion and then tell us to have a vegan diet? So that's number one. Number two is there are so many quotes describing the new earth and the new heaven as vegan friendly. So there will be no death, no suffering on my holy mountain. You find it in Isaiah, in Hosea, in various different books of the Bible, Revelation, descriptions of heaven and the new earth, all compatible with veganism. I see no evidence whatsoever of heaven being anything other than vegan friendly. So that's two. So the first one, God's perfect creation, was Eden, which is vegan. Second, God's other perfect creation, the new earth and heaven, vegan. So God's perfect places happen to be vegan. Coincidence? You decide. So the third thing is when Jesus came to us, he taught us one prayer, just one. In that prayer, he teaches us to pray for earth as it is in heaven. Now, if you look through all the passages that refer to heaven, as I've already said, they describe a place totally compatible with veganism. So if he wants us, if he thinks it's important enough to point out that we should be trying to make earth the same as heaven, then we should be trying our best to make earth vegan, which is one of the few things we can do here on earth to make it more like heaven. So if we can do it, why don't we? It's a simple step. All we need to do is make that decision and you know, follow it through. So they're the three main things. But another take home is this. So when Christians come at me angrily or telling me I'm wrong or saying you're prioritizing animal rights over your faith, they're wrong, because it's perfectly compatible. If you look at the 9 fruits of the Holy Spirit, which Christians are supposed to attempt to display, so if you're acting in a way that's consistent with having the Holy Spirit, you should be reflecting those 9 fruits of the Spirit. Now they are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness and self-control. I see an abundance of those within the vegan community and animal rights activism, and I see not quite so many of those with the people who call themselves Christians, who try to justify continuing to live a non-vegan lifestyle and try and argue with us when we're doing outreach. So that's just a few things. I can go into much more detail, and I will in future points talk about some of the other myths and arguments that are put forward by Christians to defend a position of non-vegan lifestyles. So there are quite a number of passages in the Bible that are quite famous, and they're often very wrong. I'll save them for another post though, because it's such a fruitful area. And if anyone's got any questions, private message me or leave a message on the end of this video and I'll get back to you. But rest assured, I will get back with future posts about some of the more challenging aspects for vegans from Bible quotes. As I said, I've yet to find one that I can't address from a biblical perspective. So that's that for now. I hope people find it useful to use in their activism. They're fairly simple things to remember, and you know, give it a go. If someone has a go at you and starts arguing, especially if they're arguing from a place of anger, just calm down as you would do with any other person who's being aggressive towards you, and just explain to them, I don't know why you're angry, because we're not doing this because we hate you. We're doing this because we love you. We love God's kingdom, we love God's creatures, and we want to express love in our daily choices. And if we look at the videos that we're showing at things like Anonymous for the Voiceless, it's easy to just turn around and point to that and say, does that represent to you heaven, or does that represent to you hell? So I hope that, as I say, those few points are helpful, and feel free to hit me with any topics or Bible passages, and I'll cover them in a future post or address them below in the comments. Thank you.